Welcome back to The Watch. It's me and Nathan again. Oz and Claudia, they're sick. Not going to be done. But before we dive right into it, YouTube is starting to suppress content. You might have heard me comment about this on Shadiversity, and so the way that we actually can try and combat this to show that, no, people still want to watch our content is interactions. Watching this, great. Thank you for watching. We do appreciate it. Liking, commenting, and subscribing if you haven't subscribed. It will genuinely boost this content and help it push through the algorithmic suppression. Thank you for that. And anyone who would like to go the extra mile, tremendous gratitude already for all that you're doing, watching and stuff. If you'd like to support us on Patreon and Subscribestar, that can give us the security that we're trying to build to not be as reliant on YouTube's bias. And then, yeah, we're on other platforms and you can watch us wherever you want. At the moment, we're locked into relying on ad revenue, so we need people to watch here. But if we can build that security, it'll mean the world. If everyone who watches us just donated $1 to $5, we would have that security. Thank you to everyone who is currently supporting us. So, Rings of Power is going to be crap. How do I know? How do I know? There's signs. There's enough things that have come out.
But people are saying, Shad, just wait and see. Just wait. You haven't seen it yet.
It's not out yet?
Just wait and see.
How do I know it's going to be crap?
You don't know because you haven't seen it yet.
Because when I see someone with their pants down, doing this over a plate, I can get a fairly good indication that it's going to be crap. And I would say, hey, why are you crapping on my plate? And if they turn around and say, how do you know it's not even out yet? The signs are pretty blatant, I'm just saying.
Oh, that vivid imagery. Someone squatting over my dinner plate.
That's a meme. I would copy it off there. It's a perfect meme.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen that online?
Yeah.
It's perfect. It's exactly the thing. And so I'm making a video summarizing the signs. And this is
squatting over.
Exactly. This is going to metaphorically paint the squatting that Amazon is doing with the DAX down, doing this over the plate that is Rings of Power. Okay, and we point some of this stuff out in the longer reaction to the trailer. This is going to be a bit more summarized and also taking the larger context things that aren't in the most recent trailer teaser and going broadly. So, in the new teaser trailer, they featured something that hasn't really been featured yet: dialogue between characters that will be. Well, look, I want to do a deep dive and give the examples, but I'll quickly give the summary. These are the points of evidence that show very clearly this is going to be a steaming pile of crap, okay? It's shown that it has terrible dialogue. There is no narrative talent. They don't understand the flow of storytelling or narrative. The massive point of evidence recently. They, for all the massive amount of money that they are pumping into this, there are incredible low effort and what looks to be low budget costumes and sets. Like, when I say low effort, tremendously low effort. Like, I couldn't believe it for how much budget that is in. They've been stealing visuals, like scenes and everything, from better, more popular things. You know, stealing images. They can't create their own iconic imagery.
Can't be original.
No, they're actually trying to copy all this other stuff, which points to a massive lack of creativity on their own part. And so that means every point that they can't steal, if they're not talented to make it, it's going to be crap. There's been many changes from the source material, from the lore, made for agenda and subversive ideology.
And to have it fit in a more modern world context. It's our world today.
Shows they're not prioritizing the story, the source material. They want to make something that's just fun and enjoyable. They actually want a message first and foremost, and to reflect modern. And so that's a massive sign it's going to be crap, because that's their priority, not making something good. And then, of course, massive changes to source material, because, like, to me, the hubris of that, they think they can do a better job than Tolkien. No, Tolkien, there are problematic elements. There are elements just, we're going to change things to make it better. They think they can improve upon it. The hubris is astounding.
It is, because how long did Tolkien spend on, like, the book series? Or just even the first, 15 years before he even released a book on it?
You would think, like, this is, a prequel, you'd think the events that Tolkien wrote out were in that order, with characters appearing in this chronology for important reasons. Throw it all out. They can do better. They think they can improve. And no, they can't. They are nowhere near as talented as Tolkien. And they are changing things. There's plenty of evidence for it. And so if you're going to change things from something that is great and someone's doing it who is less talented, the only result, apart from the most astronomical luck, which is not going to happen, the only result is it's going to be utter crap. These are the primary points of evidence that Rings of Power is going to be a steaming pile of crap. Now let's go a bit more of a deep dive, pointing out where this evidence comes from, the signs, okay? And so I started with the dialogue. In the most recent trailer thing, okay, teaser, it's the final teaser, but they have dialogue. And this is we could likely assume it's dialogue from the show.
You'd hope so.
You'd hope so. So, Nathan, this is the thing that is meant to draw people in, is it?
Yes. You're meant to have dialogue that is enticing.
That's exactly what I was going to. Yes. So I was going to say, because this thing to attract people in, that means you would kind of want to pick at least a showcase of something really good.
Yeah.
You don't want to give the greatest. You sometimes want to save the best thing for the show, so there's a big wow moment, all that stuff. But you want to give them a taste of how good it is, and they chose this dialogue as the showcase. This point reveals some massive red flags for anyone who is looking at this, okay? One, it shows that they think this is some of the best little thing to showcase. That this is the quality. What dialogue are referring to? Maybe we can splice it in.
It is over.
You have not seen what I've seen.
I have seen my share.
You have not seen what I have seen.
It's not how dialogue works.
No, it's mentally deficient.
It's funny how they say, we want to reflect the real world, but then we won't even put real world in conversation.
It's not how conversation works. So, problem as I was mentioning, they thought that was good dialogue. They thought it was punchy, it was powerful.
Oh, that was the best part of the trailer, Shad! You haven't seen!
Okay, so, first big problem. This is supposed to reflect some of the best quality in the show. And if this is as good as the show is supposed to get, holy crap, this is going to be a disaster. Next massive problem. They actually have such lack of understanding of dialogue writing and their judgment that they thought it was good. Okay? So it shows the show is going to be bad, but it also reflects on the talent of the people making it. I mean, I'm an author. I put a lot of effort into writing and everything like that. And anyone with even the most moderate talent, ability in writing would see this dialogue like, this is utter garbage.
Yeah.
But the creators they're so unaware of it, they wanted to showcase it. Oof. Massive oof. This is like, oh boy. Oh boy. And by the way, if there's anyone trying to say, it's going to be great and everything like that, it's looking so good, show them this video. Use this video. We're making it as a point of evidence that you can share with people, say, no, these are the signs. Because don't be fooled by pretty images. That's what they want. They have sunk so much money, and it seems like, yes, some of it might have actually been appropriately put to visual effects, but that does not fix any of these other problems.
It doesn't. You can have bad VFX instead of a good show.
Yeah, I would prefer that. Give me something good, well written, good characters, and I'll accept bad VFX. I always reference Stargate because it was low budget, Stargate SG-1, I mean, and there are some really janky effects, but it was good writing, good characters. It's a great show. Look at Babylon 5 and their effects, and people love that show. If you give us something good, that should be the highest priority. Good, well-written story and characters, first priority. That seems to the showrunners they've got for this they're not proven. They've only worked on some vague things previous.
I'm just shocked too because the script is the first thing you look at. You don't get to see the VFX or anything until the end.
Yes.
So the script's the first thing that these producers are looking at and going, yeah, no, it's great.
I love it. So good. Such skills.
I feel like they're all yes people. They can't criticize.
Also, the thing, because people have something, right? They have an inordinate kind of response to things that they like. And I've learned this about myself. I find I inordinately enjoy something more if it has swords in it, even though swords should only, if it has something has swords, should be actually very minute as to the quality of the overall product. And so I've learned, okay, I should not let that actually reflect or affect my objective judgment of a work just because it has cool swords. My enjoyment of something is different to if something is good. I don't think the writers of this get that at all. They think if they like it, it must be good, and they get an inordinate reaction, a really strong inordinate reaction, out of things that serve their agenda and tick box. And if it ticks their boxes, masterpiece. Not good writing, not good anything. That's what I think is going on.
Yeah, probably, because if they just look past all that awful bad writing, clearly there's something in the script that is engaging them enough.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard this thing from the Silmarillion? But as the theme progressed, it came into the heart of Melkor to interweave matters of his own imagining, that were not in accord with the theme of Iluvatar, for he sought therein to increase the power and glory of the part assigned to him. You haven't heard of that thing?
No.
Basically, back when the main god, the creator god, was making the great song, the devil was like, "Nah, I'm gonna increase my own part and power in this thing, just to take away from the rest of it." So they're saying that's what they're saying now is the new comment.
What they're doing to Lord of the Rings is explicitly the message of what the evil does in the original Lord of the Rings. Like, it's amazing. It's like we're seeing an analogy in real time by the corruption of Lord of the Rings is the corrupting influence of Sauron.
The show isn't what they're doing. It's the real world situation. That's the entertainment here.
That's where you can see the Lord of the Rings narrative.
Oh! We're too small brained for this shit. The big brain thing was the Amazon people were like, what if we were the bad guys in real life? And it was an immersive experience of the fans realizing what evil is.
No, because that's the thing. They think they're the good guys. They think this is all for, like, to bring the new world order, ye comrades. I'm not kidding, right? So
it's just funny how that played out. You can never see it the same way again.
So the creators who are doing this, yeah, they've handed this to people who do not have experience in the field. No. The showrunners, amazing amount of money thrown at it. And one of the things that I think it was Nerdrotic that mentioned this, is that there's a theory, and I think there's a lot of, clout to that theory, is that Marvel and now Amazon are getting people without a lot of experience and even talent, so the higher-ups can tell them, no, you do this, you do that. Because when you have a director that actually knows what quality is, and they're told something that's going to just be garbage, their own artistic integrity is usually like, what the hell? And then you see so many creators leave for artistic differences or creative differences.
Yeah, that happened a lot for a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah.
And now it's stopped.
Because they're getting no-name talent who will just be, yes, man, I want the paycheck. And I think that's what's happening with Rings of Power.
It's funny, actually. I've been watching a K-drama, and that happens in the K-drama. These smaller people go to get... It's about a business startup, and they go to this big businessman, and he's like, you have no experience, so you do what I say and get the money. But the funny thing is, in that Eastern culture, that's very prominent there, and they all call it out. And so in the show, they go, no, we're going to blackmail you, and then you're going to force... Like, it's totally different. They wouldn't do that in the Western culture because they don't want to call themselves out.
Oh, wow. So, okay. That's the first point of evidence, and there's lots of layers to just unpack with just that. And this is the talent on display. Just listen to that line. You have not seen what I have seen. I have seen enough. It's like, okay, that could be an appropriate response, but the response back is like, not nearly as much as you think. Like, it's like any number of things. Were you there? Did you see? And also, I hear that this is... I have read Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, not the Silmarillion, not the Appendices, right? And so, I don't think by any means that discounts my opinion of original source material and everything, because I'm looking at this also from a writer, from someone who understands media and things. But I do like to hear certain things, and from what people have been mentioning about the context of this early thing, is it's completely flipped. That Galadriel in the First Age didn't fight. She thought they couldn't win against this guy, and she was basically a pacifist. And that Elrond was actually more wanting to fight. It's flipped now. Whoa, they give the aggressive side, and then the pacifist side. Like, I wonder why. We'll get to that a bit later. But it's already that's just pointing out contradicting law. But the dialogue is so crap. It's just... Oh my goodness.
It's like that to make the actors read the script verbatim, and like that's it. because of how, sometimes especially just how robotic or how uninspiring the way they say things.
And you know, like even if it was part of the delivery, but like you've not seen I've seen enough, you could have just even like made the line work by her just going, "No, you haven't," and then like just repeating the same thing that you said before and there's not even she just. You have not seen. Then there's a pause. What I have seen. You don't see any particular greater emphasis. You just see this flashback. Like if I was Elrond, I'd be like, I've seen enough. You know, I'd be like,
Caught in the loop here.
Yeah. You haven't addressed my counter. You've just repeated yourself. Are you stupid? Okay, so. The next thing, no narrative talent. And, all right, so sometimes you can get a bad line, all right? I'm sure all my bits of dialogue aren't great, though I put a lot more effort. I feel, I don't know, if you're not talented, you can put in heaps of effort and you still get garbage, okay? But, yeah, like with dialogue, I'm sure I got one thing wrong in there, but generally, actually, I think the dialogue's one of the highlights of my novel. But the overall narrative, then. How can we get an indication of how the creators understand narrative flow? By the trailers, okay? We've got a longer, trailer reaction, or the teaser reaction, specifically this last one, where we analyze the story, the narrative that even the trailer is trying to convey. The second teaser has, all different people responding to a meteorite. No context is given. You don't see the meteorite land. You don't see, it doesn't propose the conflict. It's just random visuals, images, things not given context, thing not given payoff. That's not how you want to structure a teaser, let alone a story. And this is your showcase. You like not only you're trying to showcase, you're trying to draw people in. So what are you giving us to make a story? What story or even concept are you trying to convey? It's actually becomes nonsensical. When you look at this most important trailer, one of the longest teasers, this is the last teaser. This is really, I think, showcasing dialogue. We get non sequiturs where it kind of jumps from concept to concept with no actual through line of what's trying to be conveyed. The narrative of that trailer is garbage. Utter crap. And look, trailers shouldn't give the whole story, but you can at least kind of give, this is the conflict, this is the thing, or this is what the characters might be dealing with, and let it flow from one to another to make it work. But no, they just jump from it's
it should be sharing the themes of the story and understanding what the conflict is, but through the whole trailer, the themes are confusing because it's mostly just people infighting or arguing, or contradicting each other saying, "Oh, we're safe," or "We're not safe," and it doesn't at all enthrall me to want to go see people just say, "We're safe." No, we're not. We're safe. No, we're not. You have not seen what I have seen.
And that came after, the elves have their forest, dwarves and mines, humans their fields, and we Harfoots have their
each other.
And then nothing is. Are they trying to say there's something coming in to ruin that status quo? There's not. It's just it jumps to something else now. With no real context or through line, and then after it jumps to this. And when you say there's no actual message, theme, there is.
There is a message. It's very subtle, but
I think not subtle at all. I think it's very.
I watched it again for people who are unaware for it.
Yes, I agree.
You won't see.
They start suddenly talking about the past, and it's like, what connection did that have to the previous? Again, no through line, and this shows so blatantly the writers, the creators don't understand narrative storytelling. Holy crap! If this is the people making the show, I'm envisioning squatting into Amazon more and more people. Oh wow! But yeah, the message, the reason why they start talking, the line is something along very close to, forget the past or you will die with it, and
and then people cheering, going, "Yes!"
So not only is that like an anathema to the themes of Tolkien and stuff, where it's about preserving things that need to be preserved, the good, let's keep the good and everything. This changing evil influence is subverting and corrupting everything, okay? This is, if Tolkien heard that line attached to his work, he would flip out. Holy crap. Holy crap. All right, so that goes into the subverting stuff a bit later as well. But why do you think they would put that in this trailer, Nathan?
Oh, it's not like they want to tell fans anything.
No, sure.
Send any subtle messages to people who might be upset since the previous trailers didn't look that good, and there was a bit of controversy over deleting comments over a certain particular thing.
And we're constantly comparing it to the work it's based on, the history of that work, the history of this world, the previous adaptation that is so good. There's all these connections to the past that people have been comparing it to, and suddenly this line drops. You had a thought there.
Yeah. No, I was just realising, they just want you to forget about the original trilogy of the movies. Yeah. Like, no, forget about that. Okay. This is the new Lord of the Rings.
And also, there is a relation to a social commentary that's happening in the world today, where there is this progressive push to change so much, to reset things, to all, forget traditional, wholesome types of livings and all that stuff. And you need to change and embrace this new world order, or you will die. So the past will die, or the past will die. Must embrace the past, or will die with it. Yeah. You're gonna die, and that like through line. Think about what Chris Evans said when there was a rejection to Lightyear. It's like he says the people that are not getting on board with essentially the new world order, they'll go the way of the dinosaur. They expect.
I just love though that Jurassic World did better.
Yeah, I know.
At the box office than Lightyear.
Like that's
the dinosaurs aren't dead yet.
It's just like there is so much real world poetic irony to that. It's just like I wonder if the man upstairs might be because I get the feeling he has a sense of humor sometimes because it's so fits so neatly together to paint a very poetic thing. It's like when a certain lightning bolt hit a mural of someone. It's just, things happen just too conveniently sometimes. So, my goodness, like, there's that as well. And it's the same thing that they had in The Last Jedi, where let the past die, burn it if you have to. It's like, this is coming up, like, so prominently, and these are the two large ones, but it's a sentiment that is echoed in so many other areas where I can't feel that this is an isolated incident where they didn't put it in without intention and knowing what they wanted to do. And what's interesting, they did it for the pure, and what it does without them realizing, it subverts the entire purpose and narrative that this trailer is supposed to do. They rather wanted to put in a message to the fans, something subversive, something that ticks their ideological agendas and stuff, than actually make something that made sense in the overall narrative, subverting the quality of the end product. Like,
like I think they're kind of. Obviously, we can go through discussions, all this, but they're kind of losing at this point because we're all very aware of it.
Yeah.
It would be smarter for them if they were more subtle and we couldn't as clearly see it as they add it. But they're so open about it now.
Yeah, they don't understand subtlety.
No,
because they think that subtlety doesn't work. It needs to be beaten into people, force-fed them, because people are naturally resistant to this stuff, so they have to make it blatant.
But then I just think we become more resistant to it because of it.
Okay, so the next massive sign, as I mentioned, with all the money they've thrown into this, low effort and low budget costumes and sets and stuff. There were some of the sets of these trailers that when you look at it, actually the details, like, this does not look authentic, like, doesn't look real, doesn't look lived in, it feels like a set. It gives that impression. We got this impression when we were reviewing Wheel of Time, and Wheel of Time had a massive budget as well. And it's like, where's the money going? And then there are some blatant, shockingly low effort things in promotional images and in props and things. So look at this image here. We'll bring it up again. Okay. Do you see it's so low effort that they printed on the scale armor underlayer of the armor? I'm wearing my Chainmail print hoodie. I was actually mainly wearing it because the Chainmail ends up being too noisy and can get caught in the audio. And so I might wear it when I'm going to reenactments and things and medieval festivals. And this is just more wearable. But it also points to this is the same effort. This is the same effort.
It is. Someone pointed out, it's just painted leather. It was a joke, but I think people will use that for cope.
And that is one of the most low effort things I've seen for a high budget production, but it's not the only thing, because don't let it distract you. This is supposed to be scale mail, right? And then they have scale mail attached to a rigid breastplate, which is subverting the very purpose of scale mail. It's supposed to be flexible, and it's it's armor itself. And if you're attaching something to rigid, why aren't you just wearing a breastplate at that point? If you're saying, like, because one, if this is actually a metal breastplate with scale put on, the scale is doing nothing. Yeah. There's literally no point to it. And then, it's leather. But if you're wearing a rigid leather kind of thing, okay, you would be restricted just as much if it was metal. So then just upgrade to metal. And if it was leather, you'd be wearing it for it to be lighter, but you've added scales on top of it, which makes it heavier. This is all retarded on multiple layers.
Doesn't matter which way you cut it.
Oh my goodness.
You're doing something dumb.
And in comparison to, like, previous, Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings, right? We gave comparison that people were sitting down for hours on end making plastic but good-looking chainmail, right? For hours on end for extras. People were doing hours and hours of work just for extras. In this Prime with a higher budgeting by comparison, that's the quality that you give. Like
yeah, they just printed it on the Amazon store.
Yeah.
They got it from Alibaba.com.
So much so that I have some... we're going to be doing something. Well, lantern. This is Chekhov's gun on the mantelpiece thing. I'm laying in. I think I'm doing something. Just, I think you're going to like. And so we
hope you enjoy it.
We hope you enjoy it
because we're very excited.
Yes. It's going to be great. And yeah, this should be unforgivable. And then there are other just things that show that they're making the same mistakes. They don't have creativity to look outside of things. Like I reacted to the backscabbard really strong in the last one for comedic reaction as well. But also this shows that they're not got care and consideration, where they just throw in the same stupid things that we've seen again and again, not figuring out a way around it. Sure, I thought we had moved beyond this, but it's because they're getting people who just don't have talent in it. It's shocking.
They don't have talent and they don't put in any effort to claim to be talented, because I feel like a lot of this work that they do, they show up 9 to 5 job, and once it's 5 o'clock, they don't, go, I want to really be careful about this chainmail armor that I'm making or this set. It's like, 5 o'clock, all right, let's just go at. Well, I reckon with the original trilogy we got, they probably just spent tireless hours working on like little model sets they did for the VFX, and that stuff was in the 90s.
And
it was in the 90s, Shad!
I remember watching the behind the scenes and everything, and there's the scene where is it Eowyn? She's the horse lady, all right? She goes to her king and she has a goblet and trying to hand it to him, and there was a behind the scene of them handing her the actual goblet. When she gets it, she's like, oh, and Peter Jackson's like, oh yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
She was expecting a plastic prop, and she hands like this actual metal goblet. And sorry, I'm spitting. The thing is, like, for the audience, we wouldn't know the difference if it looks authentic on the surface, like it sometimes.
Oh yeah.
But like if it's made well enough, plastic, metal, we don't know. But they had that much care, and they went the further mile. It's like, well, we're going to make it real, because it also helps the actors out if they actually feel like they're holding real things. It would help immerse them in the scene.
There's actually a really good video by Corridor Crew where they go to, what's his name? He was one of the Mythbusters.
Oh yeah, Adam Savage.
Yeah, and they do a comparison between practical and visual effects, and they have this knife prop where they put it in the nose and flick it out, and blood comes, and they do a version with it practical and VFX, and guess which one looks better?
The practical one.
Yeah, and it's not because visually, or it kind of does, but the actors react more real to it.
Because you get the cue, you get the... Absolutely.
Yeah. Where, as you're saying with the prop, her going, it's heavy, it's going to be more weight to it when she hands it over to him, which just elevates everything.
I imagine your hand might quiver the tiniest bit because of the weight and everything, and it's just then the weight gets translated to the audience and it feels more immersive.
Yeah.
That's what you get when you put in effort. And so there's so much low effort garbage in this, where printed armor. And Hugo Weaving, I remember, was mentioning that like his costume for Elrond, like there was an underlayer had this beautiful brocade that got hidden. No one even got to see it but they had that effort, all right? Which just shows you the quality and care that they had for this work versus this. This is so low effort that they have printed armor. The armor on the horses looks like it's 3D printed plastic crap.
I don't know what material it is.
It's just
it looks awful.
It's terrible, and it's all monotone. Like they didn't even bother airbrushing, putting coloration, and aging on it, anything. Utter crap.
Fresh off the press.
Doesn't look metal. Doesn't look leather. It's just garbage. And that's what they wanted to show in the trailer. There's like a close-up scene of the horse which means they actually thought this was so good, it's going to make wow people. And anyone who has any level of, like, objective reference to quality and what things really look like, this is garbage. That's what you're wanting to show? It shows the low quality that the show will be, and it shows the lack of talent of the people behind it. This is terrible. Are you seeing that squatting image? Or, like, is it starting to get visualized now? And we're not even done. Okay. Changes made for agenda in a subversive art. We kind of already mentioned a lot of this, but there's more, okay? That this was supposed to reflect a European kind of folklore, okay? That is tied to a region. And so, of course, you should have people, elves, all that, reflecting the same, you know, ethnic heritage of that. Yeah, but they have to make it reflect our world, not Tolkien's world, for diversity, and they show their bias because they would never do this for a traditional mythology that was based in Asia or Africa or the Middle East or anything like that. Like, it would be so racist to change, like, traditionally black, Asian, Middle Eastern characters to a white person. But, no, we can do it in reverse. They're hypocrites, utter hypocrites. It's all on display. This shows that they are basically racist. They're so race conscious that they don't think people of different color can relate to people in a show unless they see themselves in the same color. Like, that's their worldview. They think so low of minorities and everything like that they need to be pandered to and all this stuff, and it's we see it again and again and again. And so Rings of Power is just that, but on top of all that, the way that they've been subverting the actual messages of Lord of the Rings to their own ideological messaging, what they're doing to Galadriel, this is like just one in a growing list of slaps in the face of womanhood and femininity, where they think, oh, women can't actually be leaders and powerful if they're acting feminine. We need to make them, you know, piss and vinegar warriors and stuff, because no one, you know, you can't respect them otherwise. Like, holy crap, what are you trying to say about women?
That's sexist.
It's incredibly sexist. Galadriel was like one of the most traditional, like, powerful women who used their womanhood for that, like, purpose and excelled at it. Galadriel was extremely powerful. People, like, they looked to her for leadership and answers and wisdom, and she was this beacon of authority as a woman, okay? She didn't need a sword to get listened to, or for people to... She just spoke.
And you listened to what she said.
And she had a gentle feminine nature as well as a stern feminine nature, a matriarchal nature as well. And they have such disdain for what real women are like that they don't even think women can do that. They don't think, like, they have to give them a sword. Women need to act like men to be leaders and to be able to succeed. How shockingly insulting and sexist that actually is. That's what they're saying. That's what they're doing, okay? Galadriel wasn't good enough the way she was. It was problematic. We needed to change her. And what do they change it? They're making her more like a man. Let her man spread, sit like a man, be full of, this is the quote, piss and vinegar, right? She needs to be fighting. And of course, give those qualities to a man. That's toxic masculinity. Men can't, well, I know. I mean, toxic masculinity is fine when a woman does, but if a man does it, so Elrond, no, he can't be a warrior. No, we need a... It's insulting to men and it's insulting to women. Agenda. And they're doing this because they actually think this improves it. This is reflecting their world, not Tolkien's world. Tolkien was bad. It was problematic. It needs to be fixed and repaired. They hate Tolkien. They spit on this tradition. They spit on these traditional values, and they're subverting it to try and reflect their ideology because they are not talented enough to make their own properties. They want to destroy it. That's the quote. That's the quote. Evil cannot create. I know I'm paraphrasing it, you know. They can only subvert and destroy. And again, we're seeing like that narrative play out in the real time. There are so many changes to the source material as well.
So many.
Like Isildur is in this show. He's not even supposed to be alive around this time. Isildur's the guy that fought Sauron at the beginning of Lord of the Rings in the flashback.
What about it? It is not canon, Shad. This is a fan fiction.
This is so loosely based on Tolkien, but
Yeah.
it's not. It
is. They have the rights, but it's not.
it's
canon.
the appendices. But this thing, it's so contrary to the messages and themes of Lord of the Rings and Tolkien, right? It's not like I can't even call it based on it. It's almost made to parody and insult it.
It's like a skin suit.
Like, what's a word that means parody but in a bad way to corrupt? It's a corruption of Tolkien. This is a corruption of Tolkien. Not based on the works, a corruption of the works. And they don't have the talent to be able to... Well, one, they don't have rights to a lot of stuff. But they don't even have the talent to use what they have to make a workable story because they're warping the timeline in just what's probably most likely going to be a completely unneeded way. Primarily to make Galadriel the fighter, you know. She was opposing people, like when in the actual, from what I've read, people say she was supposed to be the pacifist in the first age, and this is supposed to be based in the second age, I believe. But wow. And when I say like it's changing it, there are so many quotes of Tolkien himself despising people changing his work. Like he had his work, and if anyone tried to to so much to the point where he probably would have been really annoyed with the changes Peter Jackson made, and Peter Jackson was so respectful. Okay,
a lot of people when it first came out were really upset because of the changes that Peter Jackson made.
And Tolkien would probably have been upset as well.
Yeah.
But compare that to this. This would be making him turn in his grave. He'd be livid. Not only that, like, I reckon he'll be waging a friggin' crusade because far from changing it, it's sharing an opposite message and theme. An opposition of, like, let the past die or you'll die with it. Like, oh, that is... Tolkien would flip out. I want people to understand this, right? The show creators, Tolkien despises you. He would hate it. Everything, like... You need to know that. Could we send that message like, Tolkien would hate you for doing this? He does not approve.
There was a quote saying as well that, like, he would be somewhat lenient to plot and story if it was the circumstance of the media, but he despised anyone corrupting or changing characters.
See, I disagree, not even that. Because you should have... I've read his... so someone has actually read out his letter that he wrote to the person who did the animated adaptation. Yep. And he was not happy.
I don't think the man would be happy in any
was
circumstance.
He was a traditionalist
but
in so many ways, Tolkien.
I've seen some interviews where he's like, look, story... but I know, even any changes to the story, he'd be like, I spent 15 years on this!
I think they're doing it for green energy. Think about it. You take one of these like electric generating motors and you attach it to the grave side of any of these dead authors.
That's so sad, but I can see that.
I'm not sure if you heard that. Oz had a great analogy, and he postulated this was actually made for green energy because they have the wind turbines. They attach it to the grave sites of these dead authors, and they're spinning so much.
Yeah, spinning the grave so quickly that
we can just replace the entire power grid. That was an Oz one, I mean, in case you didn't hear. Oh, wow. So there's the visualization. Amazon, pants down, squatting, pushing out, ready for it to come. The plates to receive the steaming crap. How do we know it's going to be crap? It's not even out yet. It's kind of obvious at this point. And don't be fooled by those visuals, okay? People like pretty images and everything like that's what they want. They want to dangle the keys to hide so many blatant, obvious flaws in this. They want to do a bait and switch. Look over here while we're ruining and subverting and bastardizing, actually corrupting this such, like, not only wonderful work, it was a pure work. It had a really, like, uplifting message of goodness and value in it.
It was surprising, even despite the dark themes, it still had a message of hope and being able to travel through those dark times. Like, Lord of the Rings is scary. There's a reason my parents let me watch it when I was younger, because it's terrifying.
Oh, gosh. You know what Gandalf says to Frodo when Frodo's ready to give up? It's almost like we need those words now, you know? It's like...
Sam, when he said, you know, the people in this stories, even though things got dark, they kept going. Because there are good things in this world and they're worth fighting.
They're worth fighting for. That's why we're here. This is why this is Night's Watch. We're wearing this. So it's a symbolic representation of the fight that must go on to preserve what is good and decent in this world that's actively trying to be corrupted in modern media. All right? This is our metaphorical crusade. This is why not only us, but you must always stay on watch.